I was 16 years old. I was doing Percocet and Oxycontin. I lost my father to suicide when I was 14, so I turned to anything really that would ease my pain, you know, and make me numb. My mom's boyfriend at the time, he was prescribed Oxycontin, so I had an unlimited supply of them, and, you know, so it was anytime I wanted it, whenever I wanted it. I came home from school one day and he had heroin on the table. I didn't know what it was. He had it already poured out. It told me it was the same thing as pills. So I did it, and it was off to the races. A year and a half later, I was shooting it. When I was growing up, my dad was addicted to pills and alcohol, and so it was normal to me. My junior year of high school was when I started shooting it. My boyfriend, which is now my kids' father, he was in jail, and right before he went to jail, I've caught him shooting up, and so I shot up out of spite. I was on heroin when I found out I was pregnant. During my pregnancy, I used a few times with him. I went to jail pregnant for hot urine, and I had an emergency C-section, so they sent me home with Percocet. When the Percocets were all, then the Oxycontin was back, and then within, my son was like 4 months old, I was shooting heroin again. When my son was like a year old, I had my first overdose, and my son was present for it, so Children's Protective Services got involved. My mom found me in an overdose, a real bad overdose, and my body was already in a coma, and my son he's forever scarred because of that. He's old enough to remember. You know, he's seen that. You know, his bond with me was off. You know, it scared him. That was the first time in my life that I lost everything over that overdose. My mom took my son, she took my car, she kicked me out, and I lost my job. Well, my addiction hit like its peak after I had my daughter. My daughter was in the hospital at 5 weeks old for RSV, like sickness, and babies, it can be deadly. And she was in really bad shape. I was there with her, but every day I had my drug dealer come into the hospital to bring me the heroin that I needed so I wouldn't be sick. When my addiction really got at its worst was when my kid's dad and I, we were robbing houses, stores, just anything and everything we needed to do to get more. That was June of last year. And then I got beat up real bad by a drug dealer, and he left me to die in the backyard the day after that. CYS took my kids. I was on a mission to die. I started prostituting. I started committing crimes in front of cameras. I just didn't care. I've done sexual acts for one single bag. I lost the will to live. I overdosed 6 times in a week. Like the pain in my kids' eyes, you know, like especially my son, because he's been through it, you know, and to this day he talks about the guy that beat me up. I have like permanent damage because of, you know, I've suffered a lot of overdoses, a lot. 21 total. I've been hit with the Narcan 19 times. I have permanent muscle damage, I have permanent memory loss. You know, and there's a lot of parents that had to bury their kids, and like, I never wanted that to be my mom. Tired of seeing like my kids like cry when it's time for them to leave. You know, I got tired of seeing like my mom ask me like, what happened to you? Is it my fault? You know, and I just like got the fire inside of me to live again. So I packed my bags and I moved away, and I got clean and I never looked back.